Our next guest is Professor Michael Cohen, who joins us from Washington. He's an expert on modern political campaigns. Thank you very much, Professor Cohen, for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
I was very interested, first of all, to learn about the app which you've actually founded. And can you tell us a bit more about it?
Oh, well, that's kind of you. We founded Congress in Your Pocket in about, let's see, with the first iPhone, which is 2008, when the first iPhone came out. We put up a web app for Congress and thought it would be fun for people to download it. And as it turned out, it crashed our server, and we realized, oh my God, we actually have a business here. So there, we've actually done it for 12 years now, and it's been awarded a whole bunch of different awards. And
yes, it's award-winning.
We have over 1,000 users, and it's really exciting.
Do you think that same app could apply to, for example, elections on a small island such as ours?
Well, I heard it's a beautiful island, first of all.
Thank you.
But beyond that, of course, I mean, we actually work with a group out of the UK called Dodge UK, and we do the European Parliament and also the UK Parliament.
And so I would imagine that it would apply to any area, any location, any country, if you make the right adjustments.
Of course.
Yes. That's very interesting to know. I have to say, I've got with me somebody who's campaigned for a seat in the European Parliament, Dr. Borch-Knight. So this interests her a lot, I would imagine.
If you have any tips or tricks, I'm always willing to listen.
We should have a talk offline.
So regarding the campaign, the upcoming campaign, what can you tell us? What is happening? Because you're obviously very close to it, and we actually just read the press, see what's going on online.
Sure. Some days I feel like I'm actually too close to it, but I guess what's going on here is, well, first of all, there's a lot of upheaval around the coronavirus and also around Black Lives Matter. And so that's impacting the campaign significantly. You can see that in the polling. If you go to realclearpolitics.com, they do a very good roundup of a lot of different polls from a lot of different sources. And what they basically show is that Biden has really taken a big, big leap forward. But I would say to you just to be sort of cautious about it. It's a long way to November, and a lot of the polls that we saw nationally didn't really line up with what happened 4 years ago.
Yes, because what happened 4 years ago also, I mean, Trump was a bit of a surprise 4 years ago, wasn't he?
He was, you know, in certain cases. I mean, when you look at the polling nationally, it had consistently had Hillary Clinton ahead. Now, those polls actually ended up being pretty accurate. So, you know, even Americans forget their own system sometimes. And so, you know, we elect members of Congress one way, and we elect the president another way. And the president gets elected through the states. And so even though the national polls show Hillary Clinton ahead and she ended up winning the majority of the votes, you get elected in our country through votes in the states. And so some of the statewide polling had indicated that it was a lot closer. And some of the polls had not been done close enough to the election to really give you a good read as to what was going on.
Rosalind, my friend, my colleague Rosalind had a question about the different states. Perhaps you could ask Professor Cohen.
Yes, sure, Rosalind.
Because I was following, there were potentially some states which I think the Midwestern ones where it was quite also the swing states, we call them. What is your view on how do you think that this is going to plan out this time? Because obviously before, in the previous election, there were some states which we were kind of thinking they are definitely the Hillary Clinton states, so to speak. But then eventually it turned out that Trump actually won over some states.
Yeah, that's a great question. I think the industrial Midwest, if you're looking at states like Wisconsin and Michigan, exactly. Those states were extraordinarily close last time around, and any little thing will tip it one way or the other. If you literally had Hillary Clinton show up in Wisconsin, she may have actually have won the election. So there's a lot of angst around that loss from the team and also from the candidate and also from the supporters. I would say this time around, though, Joe Biden kind of understands what's going on, which seats are in play, which states, frankly, are very competitive. And so when you look at, for example, Arizona, Pennsylvania, You can look at Wisconsin and Michigan, and some of the ones that were actually very close. All of those now are trending Biden so far. But again, it's very early here. And so we do a few things between now and November. We nominate people. So you have conventions, which usually give each candidate a bump in the polls. And then we also have debates. And the fact of the matter is those are going to be extraordinarily important this time around, because the normal campaigning that you can do, sort of face to face with big rallies and a lot of other things, you're not going to be able to do it the same exact way that you have been able to do previously. So these events are going to have outside effects on the campaign.
Mm-hmm. Very interesting, actually.
And also, if I'm not mistaken, Biden is from Pennsylvania. Mm-hmm. So I think the fact that he was raised there, I think, I don't know, probably our guest could answer the question much better than me. Probably that could also have an influence. If you are raised in a particular state, maybe it would have an influence as well on the votes that you will be attracting. So potentially that could also...
What do you think?
It's an excellent point. Yeah, I mean, it's an excellent point. And the fact of the matter is that Joe really does feel in his bones that he's from Pennsylvania. Mm-hmm. And so even though he, lives in Delaware and, raised his family in Delaware, he's a Pennsylvania guy at heart. And so he really does understand the state. He understands sort of what people, need from their government and what they don't, frankly, want from their government as well. And so, Joe really gets that, whereas Hillary Clinton, frankly, didn't.
Mm-hmm. May I ask you, Professor Cohen, just before we close,
Sure.
Joe Biden and his choice of a VP, what are your views on that?
I've been saying this from the very beginning, that Kamala Harris ticked all the boxes. I mean, she was not only somebody who's